We live?
Give them about 10 seconds.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Dear respected brothers and sisters who are listening, I greet you with the best of greetings once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has, alhamdulillah, He has blessed us with the opportunity to be in this gathering again. And I welcome you all, for the reintroduction to the seerah classes. I wouldn't say it's a break, but rather say that we sort of engaged ourselves in other activities, and that is due to the month of Ramadan. So we just want to share some reflections on Ramadan. That we didn't continue with the seerah classes, but we had other activities, alhamdulillah. But the main thing is that in the month of Ramadan, many of us and most of us, we exerted ourselves in the month of Ramadan, that we made more of an effort to come to the Masjid in the month of Ramadan. We stood in our Taraweeh Salah. We engaged in the recitation of the Holy Quran, and we might have even prayed more nafil salah, more optional prayers. We gave more sadaqah. So in the month of Ramadan, we did as much as we could. We gave something that we wouldn't do throughout the year, and that is actually the main thing about Ramadan. The whole spirit of Ramadan is that it is a sort of a training camp, you can say. It's so that you can train yourself. This month, in the month of Ramadan, like we said, that we exert ourselves, we train ourselves, so that throughout the whole year, that we can reflect as well, that we can take something from Ramadan. Perhaps we can't make the same effort as we did, right? And it can be impossible. Maybe with work, with wherever you are, with school, college, wherever it is, certain things might be difficult. But really what we need to do is at least take one or few things that we did in the month of Ramadan. So whether it was, let's just say it was you recited one juz of the Quran, even if it was 1 page of the Quran, 2 pages, whatever it is, or it could even be half a page of the Quran, and you did this in the month of Ramadan, we shall continue after the month of Ramadan. So many of us, unfortunately, what happens is the Holy Quran, what happens in the month of Ramadan, just before Ramadan or in the month of Ramadan, we will take the Quran, right, and we will wipe the dust off and then recite the Quran, right? So, and we will exert ourselves, we recite, this is just one example of the Quran. I thought this has come to my mind, for let's give this example. But what I want to really touch upon, we don't have much time, is that what we need to do is be steadfast, have consistency, right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the best of actions, ahabbul a'mali ila Allah adwamuha wa in qalla, right? That the most beloved action or acts of worship is what is those actions, adwamuha, those actions which are done consistently, right? You have some sort of consistency, right? Wa in qalla, even though if it's less, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. So it's not those actions where, for example, one day you read one full juz of the Quran, right? You're on it, and it happens in the month of Ramadan that we're on it. Ramadan has come, and you're so motivated, and then the next day you don't do anything, right? You don't do anything. So how is that productive? Rather do something that's realistic, right? maybe read few pages. If you can't read few pages, then read one side, one page or something, or do something so that you are consistent. Be realistic with yourselves. So in the month of Ramadan, we exerted ourselves. And now out of the month of Ramadan, what we need to do is take something that we did. So we might have, like we said before, you might have read more Quran. You might have read more nafil salah. You might have read, you might have given more sadaqah. So after the month of Ramadan, at least take one or two things, something that is realistic, that you can do throughout the whole year. So that is very important that we do this, and that we make these small changes, and we make some sort of progress. Islam is all about progress. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want, we want our iman to go higher, not lower, right? We want our iman to go higher and not lower. So we use the month of Ramadan to push ourselves, and after Ramadan we do not want to forget about our efforts. So we want to carry this on, inshallah. And as a way of carrying on with the efforts in the deen and learning Islam, the masjid is always open. Alhamdulillah, we're so blessed that we can have activities in the masjid. And one of the activities that we have, alhamdulillah, is the seerah classes. So we can learn about the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as a way of reflecting on ourselves, this is a beautiful way to reflect, right? We come to the masjid, we sit in the best of gatherings and learn about the best of people, right? And what way to better ourselves and learn about how to reflect on ourselves. Inshallah, I'd like to we'll move on, inshallah, and to talk about the seerah and to recap on the seerah. I'd like to call upon my good friend Hafiz Zaid, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You want to connect it?
Yeah. Apologies.
No problem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As my friend Hafiz Asif just said, that today we will continue now with the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's where we left off just over a month and a half ago, just before Ramadan, and now we will inshallah resume with the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where were we with the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Today we're only going to keep it short, 5-10 minutes, and just recap where we were and where we will be going, inshallah. So today we are going to talk about what we have just talked about in the last few weeks, in the last few lessons. And there were two lessons that came up. Number one is the slander of Aisha radiallahu an. And we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very hurt by what went on. And of course, Aisha radiallahu an was, you can even say, maybe even more hurt by what went on and what the hypocrites tried to do against her and against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was her honor that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told by Allah in the Quran that she was innocent. And of course, there is no better way to be judged by other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be judged and to be proven innocent by the Quran. There can be no other honor than this for Aisha radiallahu an. And of course, Aisha radiallahu an, she was picked upon by the king of the hypocrites, Ibn Sulul. And we also talked about, although this will come later, we talked about the death of Ibn Sulul and how he died a very miserable death. And so that's what we did in terms of the slander of Aisha radiallahu an. And then straight after the slander, only a few months, I believe, was the Battle of the Trench, where we talked about our Sahabi Salman al-Farsi radiallahu an. And just a reminder on the Battle of the Trench is where, the people of Quraysh from Mecca, they decided to get all these tribes together, and they decided to get them all together into one team, into one army, and to, really do some damage on Medina. And of course, they weren't in it as a team. They were only in it for themselves. So one tribe would be in it for the money. The other tribe may be in it for some political gain. The other tribe may be in it just for the sake of being in it. They weren't in it for each other. They were in it for themselves. And this was their downfall. But of course, the Prophet ﷺ had to plan for the damage they were about to do. And of course, this came by inspiration through the companion Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu, who said, let's build a trench around Medina. And it wasn't around Medina, strictly speaking, it was only the place that was covered, that was uncovered, that wasn't protected by the mountains. And so this was the area that was needed to be protected by the trench. And of course, Medina was of course protected by the trench. And this was of course coming from the great companion Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu. So coming on to two Sahabi that we talked about in detail before we broke up for Ramadan, the two were Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu, and the other one was Thumama ibn Uthal radiallahu anhu. And we'll recap the story each now. For Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu, we know that he was born a Christian. Actually, he was born into a fire worshipping family. And whenever he would go past a church, he used to sing, he used to hear the hymns, and he used to try and sing along. And then he went into this church and he embraced Christianity. And then the monk of this church said, when he was about to die, said, go to this monk now. And eventually he went to 3 or 4 monks. And then the last monk said to him, there's none of the people who are on my version of Christianity. So go to the land of Yathrib, where a prophet is about to come. And of course, there were a few signs of the Prophet ﷺ, the most famous being the mark on the back of his head, just below the neck. And of course, Salman al-Farsi saw these signs, and he knew what signs to expect. And of course, he saw these signs in the Prophet ﷺ, and he embraced Islam straight away. And of course, he was most famous for giving the advice of building the trench around Medina. And so this was a short, very short biography of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu. And then the second Sahabi that we talked about, less famous, but nonetheless, he has the honor of being mentioned in the books. And this is Thumama ibn Usal radiallahu anhu, who was a nobleman, who was rich, who was wealthy, who was powerful. And when Medina was on, you could call strict lockdown, just after the trench, when it was on high alert, Thumama ibn Usal was outside, and he was brought in. What are you doing outside Medina? What's just happened? So the Muslims brought him in on suspicion of what is this guy doing outside. And the Prophet ﷺ knew that this was Thumama ibn Usal, and he invited him to live in the masjid with the companions, with the Prophet ﷺ. And of course, he lived 3 days in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, and he went out, and then he came back, and then he embraced Islam there and then. So this was the short story of Thumama ibn Usal radiallahu anhu. A very generic point that we can take from this is about knowledge, is about seeking knowledge, or knowledge that is given to us. These two Sahabi, they were given, they accepted Islam through 2 different journeys. Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu seeked knowledge, and Thumama ibn Uthal radiallahu anhu, he was given the knowledge and he accepted it. So whichever position we are in, if we are given knowledge, we should accept that knowledge. And if we are in search of knowledge, we should put effort into seeking this knowledge. And it is the duty upon a Muslim that he seeks knowledge, that he educates himself. The Prophet ﷺ, when he was developing the Madani society, he made it, he made it obligatory almost that he should be educating the people. And of course, people were freed for this if they taught the Muslims how to read or write. And so this was the importance of seeking knowledge. So Thumama ibn Uthal radiallahu anhu and Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu do really show what we must do in terms of knowledge in this world. So I think we'll leave it there. And now has come to the time when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after the events of the trench, he's really become confident now, of course. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is really now supporting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and opening the way towards the conquest of Mecca, which will happen in a few years' time. But to do that, there's a few steps, and one of the most important steps of this is the Treaty of Hudaibiya, where the Prophet ﷺ makes a contract with the people of the Quraysh to try and visit Mecca, and makes a pact with them to, reorganize the way that the land of Arabia was working at the time. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ will embark upon now. And this may take 5 or 6 lessons, but it's important that we go into the details of the Treaty of Hudaybiya. It's very important in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, and it really does lead to, the conquest of Mecca in the future. So I think we'll leave it there. Any questions now? Just want to go home and watch United now, don't we? Inshallah. So we'll leave it there. Inshallah, from next week, we'll be having it online after Asr. People are welcome in as long as they follow the COVID restrictions. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Do you know how to do it? Are you on Zoom?
Yes, it's on Zoom.
Yes. And for all that, where did you see that? Oh, sorry.